Hi, André. It's very pleasant that you're with us in the private kitchen, and
Thank you.
you have a very long experience in a lot of areas in the music industry. So I would like to start to talk with you about a typical question, I think, for media composers is how to survive in the music and media industry. And I know that you had a lot of experience in the commercial industry. So maybe we can start talking about that, how your approach was, and what were your findings?
Yeah. Okay. Thanks for inviting me first. Really nice. Um, so, how to survive in the music industry? Maybe I should go back a little to where I started. I started actually playing the guitar at the age of 16 and then moved on to being a full-time guitarist in bands. After my studies, I ended up in Club Roxy in Amsterdam. Working there and was introduced to house music, which was really, really nice. Afterwards, making music for commercials. So that's a big leap and forwards. So what I did, how to survive, because there were already bigger companies making music agencies for commercials. What I did was I approached some of the advertising agencies, which I really wanted to work with. I knew that they were doing spots for Nike or other brands, other cool brands, and I decided to focus on those agencies exclusively and not trying to send them the impression that I could do everything. I just told them I can do this and I can do that. Nothing more, but I can do that really well. So that actually worked. And I was coming from a background of cinematic music. I worked with Tom Holkenborg, Junkie XL in LA on different games and his music. So I decided to bring that kind of cinematic influence, cinematic music to those advertising agencies for products. And that means that you won't be able to do every commercial there is, because not a lot of commercials actually use advertising or cinematic music. But the few that did are the bigger projects, and that's actually what I did. I could do, for instance, 2 assignments a year, of which one would be the Winter Olympics for Nike, and then that was enough for me to survive in that particular year. But I actually focused all my attention to that particular agency and those people, so that I would get that particular job.
But then there raises the question, of course, why did you stop? Because it sounds very promising, also financially spoken. Only have to do 2 spots a year, and then you can already have enough money.
Maybe I was just lazy. Yeah. I was a lone composer back then, and I was more looking into the composer side of things, the musical, the creative side of things, instead of the business side of things. And that was actually when I went back to LA to work with Tom again and got back in Amsterdam. That was the time that I got introduced to cinematic trailers. And that's when I actually started to think about creating a company which would handle the music for those trailers and all the rights and finances, etc., etc. So then I actually started thinking about starting a company.
And why a company? Because you were looking for more people around you to collaborate with, thinking that could be a benefit for me also.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I was actually started to think ahead, and also I was looking at the market. So the thing was how to go back to your question, how to survive as a lone composer. Mm-hmm. It is possible, definitely. Either you are really, really good at what you do, or you're going to connect to a company like the Solos or Massive Music or Scissor, and then you can make some money as well. Mm-hmm. But I started to think about creating my own company, And that's actually what I did.
And did you have a certain strategy? Because were you one of the very first companies doing this kind of stuff, trailer music?
I think we were maybe the first company in Europe to focus solely on trailers. And that was also because I had my contacts in LA. That made it actually possible, and we didn't need to actually be there physically. We could also do, I mean, the internet grew, so it was possible to do that in Amsterdam, to be called by the agencies there, those guys in Amsterdam. We would turn to if we needed some particular music.
But you knew already those guys from LA when you've met them there once before. I can imagine that's a necessity that you have once.
That's an advantage, definitely.
I can imagine that's kind of advantage. So trailer music, how's the industry? Because you were the first one. I can imagine you're not the first. You're not the only one anymore at this moment.
I thought it was a really nice niche because that was around 2011. And every single person in Amsterdam was focusing on music for advertising, for products. So that market became so really crowded with composers and companies that I thought, well, maybe this is not the way forward. And besides that, trailers are more cool than advertising, at least most of the trailers. And I mean, those are really big projects. We were actually doing quite a lot of the Marvel superhero movies, which I think is actually a bit more interesting than Pampers liabilities advertising. Nonetheless, we also every once in a while did a very cool product advertising project. But we actually focused on trailers. That was our niche because no one in Amsterdam or actually Europe, in London there were a few agencies, but no one was focusing on trailers.
And how's the situation now? Is there a big competition right now, or is it?
The market has changed definitely because I wasn't the only one who noticed trailers. The same thing happened with music for trailers as happened with music for advertising. Everyone saw that there's a really cool market and there's money to be made. It's really crowded now. Yeah.
And how do you deal with that? Are you making new plans going away from the trailers to something else? Or?
Yeah, well, the market has changed. I mean, rule number one is make some really kick-ass music. Original, creative music that is different. Don't make the same music that everyone else does. Don't send me tracks with those heavy percussion, and then there's the staccato violins. Been there, done that, heard that way too many times. So make something really, really special, and that's what we like to promote. And if there's a certain story about that particular piece of music, then even better.
Do you have the impression that clients are particularly approaching you for this kind of other approach in trailers?
Yeah.
So that's working. Your goal is your approach is.
It's kind of a signature sound. We also do a lot of sound design for trailers. We make sounds. We have industry only releases of certain tracks. I mean, it can be a 3-part EP or a 12-track album, and then that particular album will be accompanied with a sound library of around 120 trailer sounds, and that is one release, which is going to all the trailer agencies, the film studios, some promo companies. That's how we do it. That's not original, but it's working.
It's working.
Yeah.
Many thanks for this, André. And for the audience, if you want to know how things work financially in the guitar industry, or what about the future with non-fungible tokens, whether there's perspective or not, have a look at another video with André.